Okay, say something about its history briefly.
Artificial beings with intelligence appeared as storytelling devices in antiquity, 16, and have been common in fiction, as in Mary Shelley's Frankenstein or Carol Capek's RUR, 17. These characters and their fates raised many of the same issues now discussed in the ethics of artificial intelligence. 18. The study of mechanical or formal reasoning began with philosophers and mathematicians in antiquity. The study of mathematical logic led directly to Alan Turing's theory of computation, which suggested that a machine, by shuffling symbols as simple as 0 and 1, could simulate any conceivable act of mathematical deduction. This insight that digital computers can simulate any process of formal reasoning is known as the Church-Turing thesis. 19. This, along with concurrent discoveries in neurobiology, information theory and cybernetics, led researchers to consider the possibility of building an electronic brain. 20. The first work that is now generally recognized as AI was McCullouch and Pitt's 1943 formal design for Turing-complete artificial neurons. 21. By the 1950s, two visions for how to achieve machine intelligence emerged. One vision, known as symbolic AI or GOFAE, was to use computers to create a symbolic representation of the world in systems that could reason about the world. Proponents included Alan Newell, Herbert A. Simon, and Marvin Minsky. Closely associated with this approach was the heuristic search approach, which likened intelligence to a problem of exploring a space of possibilities for answers. The second vision, known as the connectionist approach, sought to achieve intelligence through learning. Proponents of this approach, most prominently Frank Rosenblatt, sought to connect perceptron in ways inspired by connections of neurons. 22. James Maniaka and others have compared the two approaches to the mind, symbolic AI, and the brain, connectionist. Maniaka argues that symbolic approaches dominated the push for artificial intelligence in this period, due in part to its connection to intellectual traditions of Descartes, Boole, Gottlob Frege, Bertrand Russell, and others. Connectionist approaches based on cybernetics, or artificial neural networks, were pushed to the background, but have gained new prominence in recent decades. 23. The field of AI research was born at a workshop at Dartmouth College in 1956. 26. The attendees became the founders and leaders of AI research. They and their students produced programs that the press described as astonishing. Computers were learning checkers strategies, solving word problems in algebra, proving logical theorems and speaking English. 28. By the middle of the 1960s, research in the U.S. was heavily funded by the Department of Defense. 29. And laboratories had been established around the world. 30. Researchers in the 1960s and the 1970s were convinced that symbolic approaches would eventually succeed in creating a machine with artificial general intelligence, and considered this the goal of their field.